So today we are going to discuss business rules. Okay, write it down. Business rule is business rule is a server-side script that runs when a record is displayed or inserted, updated or deleted or deleted deleted or when a table is queried. When a table is queried. Full stop. I'll repeat again. Business rule is a server-side script that runs when a record is displayed or inserted or updated or deleted or when a table is queried. Next line. Next line. Business rule is a server-side script which means that it will execute on on server or database. Server or database. I'll repeat again. Business rule is a server-side script, which means that it will execute on server or database. Okay, next keep it as heading as types. Keep the heading as types of business rules. First type, before business rule. Nanak, before business rule. Second type, after business rule. After business rule. Third one, display business rule. Fourth one, async business rule. Async business rule. We have four types: before, after, display, async. Now, keep the subheading as before business rule and write it down. Write it down. Code written in before business rule. Code written in before business rule will get executed will get executed when user submits the form when user submits the form before business rule will get executed before business rule will get executed and then and then will save in database and will save in database. I'll repeat again. Code written in before business rule will get executed when user submits the form and before business rule will get executed, then it will save in database. Then it will
Uh,
save in database. Yeah,
Priyanka, does this business rule gets active before like after user submits the form, like after user saves the details,
yeah,
is it?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll explain. After the notes, I'll explain. Whenever user submits the form, it's nothing but whenever user save or update the form, then it will get executed. Okay, next, write it down. Under after business rule, code written in after business rule code written in after business rule after business rule will get executed will get executed whenever user submits the form whenever user submits the form and information will save in database or data saved in database, then after business rule will execute. Then after business rule will get execute. I'll repeat again. Code written in after business rule will get executed when user submits the form and data saved in database. Then after business rule will get executed. Will get executed. Next, under display business rule, write it down. Code written in display business rule. Code written in display business rule get executed get executed before the form is presented, before before the form is presented to the user, presented to the user and just after the data is read from the database. After the data is read from the database. Okay. So which we can display values of fields by using display business rule. Okay, so next write it down. Async business rule. Async business rule, last type. Async business rule is like after business rule, is just like after business rule, is nothing but whenever user submits the form, data will save in database and after that the script will get executed. Just like after business rule, however, write it down, however, it runs in the background, it runs in the background background simultaneously simultaneously with other processes, simultaneously background simultaneously with other processes, with other processes, which means which means async business rule, which means async business rule will run after will run will run after the data is saved into the database. Will run after the data is saved into the database. Full stop. Next line. Next line. This will not, this will not, this will not impact the user, impact the user while doing other transactions. This will not impact the user while doing other transactions. Full stop. Yeah. So now let us discuss about like in what is business rule and then how many types are there and what are those and how we are going to write script on those as well. Okay, so let's get into like in what is business rules first. Okay, so before explaining this business rule, I just need to tell one point over here. So business rules are the one which we use very frequently in projects. Okay, so as it is like in server-side scripting, whenever we get like a requirement, most of the requirements will be fulfilled. Maybe like in 50 to 60% of script which we write in business rules actually. Anyhow, we cannot stick on with like an exact, percentage of count over here. It depends on requirement anyhow. But usually, for like in all the modules, we use business rules frequently. Okay, so let us discuss what is business rule first. So business rule is something, this is a script which we are writing in a server side. So we discussed about like, and we have a client side and server side as well. So we are just taking about like in business rule over here, which runs with in a server side script. So when this gonna run, when we are going to trigger this business rule is nothing but whenever we are going to display the record, or else whenever we are creating a record is nothing but inserted, whenever we are updating a record, whenever deleting a record, or else whenever I query a table. Okay, so let's say the requirement is something that there is a table called ABC, let's say example. Okay, so this specific ABC, whenever the records is updated, let's say let incident table. Okay, so whenever as soon as I updated the short description or I updated the state of something else, okay, so depending on this, the other actions or the whatever the requirement might be, the other functionality should work on. Okay, so there should be like in one trigger pointer in one specific table. You just need to go ahead with like in whenever the record is displayed or inserted or updated or deleted and so on. Okay, so whenever these actions is performed, okay, and then the functionality, whatever it might be in a requirement, so that should work on. Okay, so this is what something we go ahead with like in the condition, mentioning a condition. If this condition got met with that specific table, then this business rule will trigger and then it will start. And then whatever the script written in that specific business rule will get executed. Okay, so it will execute on servers, database, or else, service now tables. Okay, that's how it will go ahead. So if someone asks you about like in what is business rule, just tell them like it is a server-side script which we write in service now. Okay, so whenever the record is displayed or else whenever the record is inserted, which is nothing but created, whenever record is updated, deleted, or else whenever we query the table, then we are going to utilize business rule. Okay, so here we have a four types of business rule. We before business rule, after business rule, display business rule, and async business rule. Okay, so let's get into like an each and every type of a business rule as well, and then I'll write a sample script for each and every type of a business rule over here, and we'll check the difference between these things, and we will learn very clearly about these types as well. Okay, so before business rule, let us discuss this now. So before business rule is something. So let's say example, I'm the user. Okay, so whenever I submit the form, Okay, so whenever I save the form or else whenever I update the form, then after as soon as I did it, my business rule script will get executed. So as we discussed yesterday's class, client scripts, whenever I load the form, the script whatever I wrote there got executed, right? In the same way, whenever I submit the form, before business rule will get executed. So you might get like in one question over here, we have a on submit client script as well. So what's the difference between like in this submitting and that submitting? So this submitting is something which we are working with like in server side script, and there we are working with like a client side script. Okay, so whenever I submit the form, so here the our business rule will get executed, and then along with the execution data it will save into the database. It's nothing but into the tables. Okay, so that's about like in before business rule. So I'll take a use case for this and I'll explain. Okay, now let's go it into like in after business rule. After business rule is something whenever I submit the form, okay, whatever the data is available over there, that will save into the database. After saving into the database, then after business rule will get executed. Okay, so along with the data, it will get executed. Let's say example, I have entered something else. I have created one record. Okay, so the record should save into the database. Along with that record also should be included, and then my after business should get executed. Okay, so that's about like an after business rule. Okay, and display business rule. So display business rule is something which we are going to display the data, or is which we are going to read the data from a database. So we are just displaying the values over there. Okay, and then async business rule. So async business rule is just like an after business rule only. It's nothing but whenever we submit the form, data will save in the database and then it will execute later. The script will get execute later in the same way, but the execution will happen in the background simultaneously with other processes. And this will not impact the user's transactions, whatever which they are doing over here. Okay, this will not impact the background processes over here. So let's talk about like in what are these background stuff. Okay, so we can go ahead with like an integrations actually. Let's say we just implemented like an integration. We are just communicating with a third party application over here. Okay, and whenever the record is created or updated or something else. Okay, and that should be done in a background simultaneously with like another processes as well. Okay, so then I can use a sync business tool, or else I can create an event and then I can utilize this as well. Okay, and I can run this as well with like an REST APIs is nothing but integrations over here. Okay, whenever REST API call is like sent to the other application, then this will get updated, this will get triggered, and we can go with like in calculating an SLAs as well. Okay, so or else I can give like in one example. So whenever incident ticket is like an in a pending customer action status, and we can auto close it as well by 5 days, right? That we can do done by using schedule job. Okay, so this can be done by using this as well. If user does not provide any update on a specific incident task, we can do that by using like in 5 days and all this as well. So, but the best practice is like in something we using a schedule jobs only. Just simply understand that async business rule will execute asynchronously. Simply the difference between after business rule and async business rule is something. After business rule will executed simultaneously, which follows asynchronously. Is nothing but step by step. Okay, it will wait for the next process and then it will get executed. Whereas async business rule will execute asynchronously, and this will not wait for the other steps to be done. If the condition got met, directly it will get executed. Okay, so that's how. Let me give like in one more example over here. Let's say after business rule. After business rule is something, there is a state whenever the record is created, there is a state field, right? So whenever the record is created, I just need to set up state as like a new. Okay, so and after creating a new, I just need to go ahead with like an something some other stuff I just need to make it as like a mandatory or need to set up values over there. So it will go step by step, one by one, step by step process. It's nothing but synchronously over here. Whereas if it is like an async business rule, it will work asynchronously. Directly it will get executed. So we cannot predict or tell when this is gonna execute. Okay, so if we want to make any uh, requirement or to be fulfilled by using like an async business rule, whenever the requirement, when we are going to execute this in the background with other processes, then we will utilize it. Okay, so async business rule will not go ahead with like a proper step by step actually. So it will execute asynchronously. It will runs like that. So it doesn't follow the time as well. Let's say if I mention some steps or time over here. Okay, it will doesn't go ahead with like in the time. Okay, so user have access to do other operations as well over here. And one more thing, we cannot use previous objects as well. And the current can be like in referred on delete. So see here, and after business rule, we do have a previous and current parameters actually. I'll show you that current and previous parameters. Whereas if I go with like an async, it will not be there. The previous parameters will not be there. Okay, so this is what here we no need to display immediately. By using like an async business rule. So the result or the execution result, we no need to display immediately over here. Okay, so that's how about like in after and before async business rule difference. They might ask you in interviews as well sometimes. Okay, so just keep these points in your mind whenever this will help you in interview as well. So let me rephrase it again. Business rule is something we are going to work with like in server side script whenever the record having these specific conditions got met. Okay, we are going to execute on like a servers or database, and we have four types: before, after, display, and async. Okay, so each one which we are going to discuss, let me show you a picture over here. Okay, so see, this is a types of business rules which we can define very clearly by using this, uh, chart. So here this block diagram will show us like in whenever user or system query, whenever we query it, okay, query rules will apply and it will save in the database. Okay, so just ignore this for now. Just go into like in these three. So form submit, whenever I submit the form. Okay, so where display business will go ahead. So we are getting a data or else which we are reading a data from a database, right? Whenever we query. So that's how we get a display rule. So display business rule will get executed. Okay, now let's get into like in before and after. So whenever the form submits, then before business rule will get executed, then only it will save into the database. Okay, so that's how we discussed, right? Display business rule is something we are just reading a data from a database. Okay, and then this is about like in business before business rule, whenever we submit the form, whenever we have clicked on save button or update or submit button, and then my business rule will get executed and later it will save into the database. Whereas after business rule is something, whenever form is submitted, and then it will save into the database first, and after saving into the database only, my script after business rule will get executed. Okay, so that's how it will be. And this image which I have included in documentation folder as well, if you want later you can check it up for better understanding. Okay, so now what I'll do, I'll take like an each and every type over here, before business rule, after business rule, and everything. Let's get into like an before business rule first. So firstly, let us know how to create this business rule. So in left application navigator, just type business rule. Okay, under system definition, we have business rules. Just write it up. See, business logic executed in response to an operation against a database record. Okay, business rule. The backend value of business rule is sys underscore script. So this might be a one of an interview question as well. So just remember this as well. Sys underscore script. Okay. So to create it, So just get into like and clicking on new button. So as I told you yesterday as well, so this is what one scenario which I'm going to explain with you guys, right? So if you want more scenarios, if you want to explore like in a lot of use cases as well, so you can utilize, you can check it out randomly, you can open maybe like in 5 to 10 business rules over here with different types of business rules as well. Then you can understand how the business rule will work. Okay, so as on out of the box we have more than 4,000. Just go ahead with like a type of business rule as well, and you can try it out. Okay, so let's say example, yesterday I showed you for like in concepts as well, right? So here, see, this is a existing out of the box business rule which we have about changes on group. If there is like in any changes happen for the group, so we can go ahead with like in aborting those actions in problem table. Okay, so just check it out like in all the options available over there and what they have configured and implemented, everything you will understand. Okay, so let's get into like in new creating a new business rule over here. Just click on a new button which is there in a right top corner. Okay, we will get new business rule record here. Okay, just give the name and table, and then we'll go with like an each and every option available here. Let that load. Okay, so now I'll go with like a scenario for this one before business rule. So what I'll do before business rule is something, it will, whenever I submit the form, before business rule should get executed, right? And then only it will save in the database. So what I'll do, he is the caller. Let's say example, Petra is the caller. Okay, so and he has got created one incident. Let's say example, he has a hardware issue. Okay, so let me save this. So he has hardware issue and he has given like an all the details over here. Let's say this is like a triggered and it's there in a new state or in progress or something else. Okay, so they are working on it. So the team is working on this one. Okay, whoever has like an assigned to, and the person is gonna work on this one. So what this Petra thought, so there I have created one incident over here, but still I'm not getting a proper response as soon as possible. So he'll do one more thing, he'll create an another extra ticket as well. Okay, so what will happen already with the same caller with the same issue is like an already there, the same person having like a same issue, right? So that will add into like in duplicate, right? Duplicate record will come up. So if I use like in the, let's say I have a hardware issue, let's say example here the Priyanka is there and I have a hardware issue and it is like an trigger and their team is like in working on it. And I feel I just need immediate action on my issue so that what I felt, so they are not working on an issue and they are making delayed with my issue and they're not working on it. I felt and I created one more ticket and that might be assigned to some other person. The person might be like an active and might resolve as soon as possible. So that's was the thing he has, the caller has. Okay, so if he has like in that kind of idea and if he create in one more incident, okay, then what will happen? Duplicate records will be created. So what the functionality of like an before business rule, whenever user submits it before business rule, our script should get executed. So whenever as soon as he created the record, okay, so our script will get executed and it will check whether there is like an any existing record is there with the same issue with the same caller. Okay, if yes, it will we are going to ignore the action. We will inform this caller that already one incident is like in created with the same issue. So if you create now, it will be a duplicate ticket. So we can inform it as like and we can add it as like an alert message to him and then we can ignore creating it. Okay. And then if it is like a no, then it will save into the database. So that's a use case actually. So if he's trying to create a duplicate record, okay, we are going to abort the action. We are going to cancel it. Okay, so let's do that one. Let's say example now, let me go with on before business rule. Or else you can mention like in abort duplicate records, or else aborting incident duplicate records. You can mention like and based on your requirement as well. Okay. So before business rule. So the table, in which table you are going to perform this business rule. So we are going with the incident. Just give the table name over here. Okay. And application active, we already know about it. Okay. And one more point I just need to give highlight over here is, so without writing script also, few of requirements can be fulfilled. Let's say the table is here, and here I'm going to mention a conditions, and here there is like an actions. I can add a message, I can abort an action, I can set the values over here. Okay, depending on my requirement. Even if it is like a requirement is a smaller one, I need to run this in a server side. Okay, then without script also I can go ahead. But most of the requirement will not be fulfilled with this one. So what we'll do, we'll click on advanced. So here see I have only two, but whenever I click on advanced, I'll get an advanced as well. So here I'm gonna write script. Okay, so now we do have like an advance as well. So advance whenever as soon as I click it, we'll get like an extra session with this. Okay, now let us discuss about like in these three as well. When to run, actions, and advance. When to run. So when to run is something that's what which we're discussing over here. What's the condition? Right. So when is nothing but here we have a types of business rule before it should execute or after it should execute, or else whether it should execute asynchronously, or else do we need to get a data from a database, just displaying the values. Okay, so as of now, it's like an before business rule. Just keep it as like an before business rule and order. Order is something, the execution order. So which one should execute first? Okay, the lower one, the lower value will get executed first actually. If I have like in 100 over here for this one before business rule, and another there is like in one more business rule also there with the same table with same kind of conditions over here, and which one should execute, and the order for that is like in 200, let's say. So this will get executed first, and later the 201 will get executed first. Okay, so this is what something, and we will not, much focused into like an order while writing like a business rule. If you are concerned about it, you can mention this as well. As by default, 100 will be there. Okay, and if I go down, there is like in filter conditions as well. So I can add like in filters as well. Depending on like an, conditions, I can go ahead with like in filters as well. Let's say state is something, or else assigned to is something, assignment group is something, caller is respective person. So you can go with like an any condition. So whenever we met the condition, whenever we mention the condition over here, the condition for sure it should satisfy, or else the script will not get executed. Okay, so that's how we can add a conditions as well, and we can add role conditions as well. If the specific person having this role, then it should get satisfied, or else no need. So that kind of filters also which we can mention over here. And here see there is like an insert, update, delete, and query. Okay, so here we have like an insert is nothing but whenever record is created. Okay, whenever we are inserting a new record, simply we can say. Or it should work for like an even for update as well, and it will go ahead with like an update too. Whenever record is updated, and then it will get executed. And then whenever record is deleted, and whenever record is like inquired as well, then I can utilize this too. So what I'm doing right now, I'm just going with like an creating and updating. So if I create a duplicate record, or else if I update a duplicate record, then I just need to get a alert message. Okay, so now the condition which I'm getting over here is this is what actually. So I'm just giving like an insert and update. You see, you can read here as specify whether the business rule should run on insert or update. Okay, so we can use the filter conditions as well. Okay, so now let's get into like an action. So actions is something. So here we can set values as well. Let's say whenever incident is created or updated. Okay, I just need to set an action over here. So let's say description, I can set something, or else contact number, I can set something. All the incident fields will be displayed over here. So I can set any value over here, or else I can add a message, or else I can abort the action as well. Okay, so that's how which we can do ahead. And then advanced. So here I can add like an any further conditions as well if there is any. Okay, so we can go with like an role based or else any condition based or anything which we can mention over here. Okay, and let's get into like in the script part. So here we are going to write a script. So here I told you, right, we have a current and previous parameters. Okay, so this current parameter is something, the current stuff. Current is declared, but the value will never be read. So this is just a parameter actually. And then previous is something, the previous value it will go ahead. This is the current value will go ahead. So this is just like an parameters actually. Okay, so let's write a script for this duplicate one before business rule. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll create we will write like an we will glide an incident table and we will compare with like an caller ID, caller and the description. Okay, so if I get like in the same description and with the same caller ID, I'm going to abort an action with a error message. Okay, so let's start that. Let me create like in one object where gr is equal to new, and using every time gr is also not a good practice. You can utilize like an any variable over there. Okay, just give the backend value of the table and click on this. Okay, so where gr is equal to new glide record of incident. So what I did now, I was just gliding an incident table and storing that in a gr variable. Okay, so all the incident records will be stored in this variable. Okay, so now let's start with like inquiring it gr dot add query. So we just need to go ahead with like an add query. So here, just give like in the backend value of a caller. So what we are going to do, we are going to utilize like in the previous value of a caller and the current value of a caller, what we are giving right now while creating the incident. So just give it like in separate with a comma and give current. Current is something. Here we are going to, let's say I'm creating a new record. So the new record value, whatever which is there over here is will act as a current. Okay, so the new value, the current value, whatever which I have given over there will act as a current. And then the previous value will be compared in a caller underscore ID. Okay, so now let us give it like in current dot caller underscore ID. Just give the backend value of that. Okay, so now we just need to compare. So we just comparing with like in the previous value of a caller ID and the value which we have given, the current value. Okay, this is a previous value of a caller ID and the current value. So if these two are both are same, okay, then we are going to abort an action. If it is different, then we are not going to abort it. So in the same way, we'll go ahead with like in description as well, short description or description, anything. Okay, just take the backend value of the description or short description. Let's go to the short description. Just give the backend value over here and the same thing. So now what I'm doing, I'm just checking up like in what's the previous value of the caller ID and what's the previous value of the short description and whether that is meeting for the new record as a record or not, the current record or not. Let's say this one, the Petro one is like in the previous record with the hardware issue. So again, the Petro is going to create a new record and he is going to give a same, the current value as like in Petra, and then the short description as like in hardware issue again, then this condition will get satisfied and then it will come up and then our script will get executed. So our script, what we are going to do, we are going to abort a action, right? So what we'll do, we will query it now, gr.query. So this is like something we are running it. As we discussed about it, we went to like an instant table, and we have added these two filters, and we are clicking on run button, just like a manually we will do, right? So this is what we'll do by using script. Okay, now go with the if condition. If gr.next if condition gr.next, like in the next method. So now we are going to abort the current action. Current dot, we have a set abort action actually method. Set abort action and use true. We are going to make it as a true because we should abort it. Okay. Next we will use like an error message by giving GS. GS is nothing but the glide system which we use. Okay, so see here we have a add error message, add message, all this. Just go ahead with like an add error message and just give your message over here. So the message should be there. You cannot create new record with same issue. With same issue. It will lead to like a duplicate. Duplicacy will come up. So you can add that as well. So now we are done with writing a script. So what's our intention over here? Whenever user trying to create a same record again, same incident record again with the same call ID and short description, you can add multiple filters as well. Let's say not only short description, you can go with like in category and subcategory as well. If the category and subcategory also the same, then it will work on. Okay, so as of now I just added like in caller ID and short description, and we are going to query it, and we have mentioned if the condition got satisfied, if it is true, then we are going to abort an action. What's the action over here? Inserting or updating. Okay, abort action, even here, see, abort action is something else, whatever the condition which we mentioned over here. Okay, so this will not happen. Okay, so we are going to abort it, and along with an abort, so we just added like an error message as well. Okay, so let me save it and we'll execute. Okay, so save the record. So now you are clear with this, right? So what I'm doing over here, I'm gliding an instant record. I'm going ahead with like and comparing with the current value with the previous value. And if it is same, then I'm going to abort it. That's it. It's like an easy only. Let's create a new record, or updating a new record also is fine. Okay, so what's the username? We'll see the same stuff. Petra. Okay, and what's the description? Short description, hardware issue. So if I try to create the same caller and the same short description and try to submit it. See, you cannot create new record with same issue, invalid insert. So this invalid insert came up with like an aborting an action, and then this is the error message which I got it. So that's how which we can abort an action. So if I refresh it, this will not save into the database. That's what about our business tool, right? Before business tool, whenever I submit the form, my script got executed and then error message came up. If it is like in true, then it will save. If not, we are aborting the action, so it will not save into the database. If we are not aborting it, then it will save it. But anyhow, as per our requirement use case, so we are going to abort it. Let's say if I create a new record with some other stuff, let's say testing, it will take. it will save into the database, because the caller and the short description is, we don't have any other related same data with associated with any record, any incident record. So it will save. Let's say if I create a same record with like in same caller and testing, then it will make it as like an issue. So see here, let us go ahead with like in that as well. One more time executing this and try to save it. So as it is like a reference field, so sometimes it will come like this as like an invalid references, and then you just click on like in the magnifying glass reference and then search here. There might be like any reference qualifier, something is like an, applied for this user, I guess. Okay, so let's take it and take it with like an another user. And we'll try to create a duplicate record and I'll get the error message again. Not only for specific users, we can go with like an anyone. It's loading, I guess it's taking time. 1080, and he is the person having this hardware issue. Let's say example. Okay, so I have saved this form and this is also saved. So now what I'll do, I will use this user. Okay, so click on this. See now I got this one. Or else we can create like a new record as well. It will be good actually. Taking a lot of time to load.
Priyanka, what are you doing? Like you are adding into the existing record or you're creating new one?
Before I was trying to using for like an existing record. Now I'm creating a new one. Before thing, there is like an, hardware issue with the Petro, right? That's like an updating which I did it. Okay, so now I'm trying to go ahead with like an insert as well. That is like in two conditions, right? Update, it got aborted. So let's get into like an insert as well, creating a new record. Okay. So let's get into like in any of a user. It's loading. Meanwhile, let me give my system administrator only, and we'll give testing before business rule. Let's copy this, and this is a system administrator, right? Submit it. So we know that there is like in one incident with testing before business rule. What if I do the same with the system administrator with the same short description? We'll see whether that will come or not. So it should work for like an event for creating a record, and that should work for like an event for updating a record as well. So still it's loading actually. So let that come up. Yeah. So now I'm trying to save this. See, you cannot create new record with same issue, invalid insert. So which we are aborting it with a error message. Okay, so that's how which we can go ahead with like an before business rule. Okay, so now let's get into like an after business rule. Let's make this as inactive and open the business rule again and click on new button. Okay, so now let's get into like in the next one, after business rule. Okay, so after business rule is something whenever I submit the form. Okay, so the data will save into the database, then my script will get executed actually. So for this, the scenario which we can take it up, let's say I just need to create a problem record depending on a incident record. Let's say example, there is a hardware issue. This is a record actually. Okay, so whenever the state changed to like in resolved, that's a condition. Let's say example, whenever state changed into like in resolved, I just need to create a problem record depending on my incident data. That's what which we can fulfill, right? Whenever I submit the form, whenever I change the state over here and I'll submit the form, along with the state, it should save into the database and then creating a problem record thing which we will execute by using after business rule. Our script will go ahead with that. Okay, so without wasting our time, let's get into like an give the name after business rule, or else you can give like and create problem record with incident also you can. Create problem with INC incident. You can go with like and this too. Okay, and in which table we are going to write this one? In problem table, sorry, incident table, right? So let's write it out with like an incident table and application active we know, and click on advanced. We are going to write script for this. Okay, so now when to run. So when to run, here we have a after business rule. Okay, and here whenever record is updated, so whenever the incident state got changed to resolve, that's a condition. So this is updating, right? So as soon as whenever we create an incident, we are not going to move to resolve anyhow. So what I'll do, I just go with like an only the update. Okay, and what's the condition which I mentioned there? State is resolved. Okay, select the state. Loading. State is resolved. Okay, so this is the condition. So whenever I'm trying to update the state is resolved, then my after business rule script should get executed. Okay, so actions you can mention anything or else you can skip. And here we just need to write a script over here actually. So what we'll do, we will create a variables first for like an for mapping. Just open the problem table. Let's example, go to the all. How many are there here? It's loading. Yeah, here you go. So these are like in problem records which we have, right? So here we have 25 problem records. Okay, so for like in whenever incident state is like in change to resolve, I just need to create a problem record depending on like in this incident table. Let's say this is a requirement. Okay, so we do have like in similar fields over here and there, right? For problem and incident table. So what we are going to do, we are going to map the fields with like an incident table to the problem table. Okay, problem fields over here. So just like in mapping, which we just need to do. And after mapping, we are going to create a problem record as well. So let me go with the like a new full screen of this one.
Priyanka,
So,
just
yeah,
one request. Can we take example of urgency and impact?
urgency
Two
and
fields.
impact, we can go ahead, but do we have like an, this as well, we can go ahead.
Yeah,
It's there. Impact and urgency is there, and even this also we have it.
right.
We can go with that as well. So it depends on like in the requirement, you see, but they are going to give like in exactly what fields also which they just need it. Let's say whenever the result state is like in mood for any of a incident, and then they need to create a problem table. So they will mention so what and all the fields is mandatory to get the data from like an instance table to the problem table. They will mention even in this requirement as well. Okay, so you can go with like in any field, but only the thing is like in the mapping should be done properly. And the mapping also, if let's say example, in incident table, the description is like in a string field, right? Single line text. So if I'm mapping this short description to some other like a reference or choice or something, that's not a good thing which we need to do it. We just need to check it out like in the type of a field as well. Okay, so while
Right. So
mapping.
in this example, can we use impact and urgency as
Yeah, I will.
okay.
We can. Okay. So let's get into like an, comparing the fields over here. Where just give like an any of a value, let's say example INC impact. So this is a variable actually. So what we'll do, current dot. So here current is nothing but the incident fields it will take it actually. Current dot, just go ahead with like in the backend value of an impact. And take the backend value and paste it over here. So what we are doing here is nothing but we are just taking a incident impact value and storing in this variable. That's it. Okay. So now let's get into like in var inc urgency is equal to current dot. Just take the backend value of that. But while we are doing this as like an, in real time thing, so impact and urgency is not the much, considered thing over here, but we can go with like an any fields. Okay, so impact and urgency, let's take it out like in the short description as well. What's the issue which we then just need to know about it, right? So let's get into like in even that as well. Where short description is equal to current dot backend value of a short description. So I'm just storing these values into the variable, and this variables I'm gonna use it later in the script. Okay, so you can directly also you can utilize it by mentioning like in current dot short description, but creating a variable and mentioning this also you just need to understand and know about it. So I was just using this too. Okay, and other than that, you can go with like an anything. Let's say one more field where let's say example, yeah, we'll go with like in CMDB or else assignment group. So one reference field which I was interested to go ahead. Configuration item is equal to current dot CMDB. Okay, so now we are done with like in creating a variable for like in the fields which you are going to map it with a problem table. Okay, so now let's glide the problem table where let's say example problem table, right? Problem tab is equal to anything which we can go ahead actually the variable new glide record. Okay, and which table? So just give the backend value of a table. So problem, if it is like incorrect, you will get an underline for that actually. So that's a sign that you have given a correct backend value of a table. Okay, and then problem, just take this variable. Okay, dot. Now let's go with the problem and take the backend value of the things, whatever which we just need to map it. Okay, so there is an impact urgency. So mostly these things will not, change anyhow. Impact. So what we are doing in this line is nothing but we are just mapping the fields of like an incident fields to like an problem fields. Okay, so where impact is equal to, just take this variable. You can assign this one. Instead of this variable, you can utilize this as well. Okay, then no need to create a variable over here. Okay, and then we just need to finish this for like an all the fields as well. Not only for impact, need to go with like an all the 4 labels. Let that load, just take like in the backend value. So it's just like in good practice to go ahead with like an, copy pasting the backend values, because the uppercase, lowercase, so that might, will not impact later while we are executing. Okay, so impact urgency, the one. So just copy this and paste it over here, this variable. So now what will happen? The problem table impact, we are mapping with like in the incident table impact. Okay. Now let me go with like in the next one, short description, right? Just use this one, dot. So here we have a problem statement. So problem statement, we can take it as a short description. I click on it. The label is different, but anyhow, the backend value is same for this as well. So we are just utilizing this variable so that the problem description will come up. Whereas we are taking it as like in from a current dot, then it will take it as a incident table. Okay. And then configuration item, right? So let me take the variable dot, the backend value of this. CMDB underscore CI, use this one, is equal to, use this variable, line number 6. So now we have mapped it. So what we are going to do now, we are going to insert, we are going to create it, right? So what we'll do, just take the variable, doesn't copy it, I guess, PROTAB dot insert. So whenever I clicked on insert, so we are going to create a new record. Okay, so now we'll add a information message as well over here. GS dot add info message. Take the variable over here. Dot. So we will take the number as well. So whenever we create a new problem record, so we just need to get this number as well for a reference purpose. So we will print the number. We will use plus icon for separation. Now space will come up, and here you can add problem ticket is created. Okay, so that's how which we can use this one. Okay, so now what I did now is like in a simple concept actually. See here, I'm just, whenever the state is like in resolve of an incident record, so I just need to create a problem record. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just comparing with like in local values. It's like nothing but the current values which I'm storing into like in variables, and this I'm using it. So here I'm mapping the fields of a problem table and a incident table. So after mapping it, I'm just creating by using insert. Okay, and after creating an problem table, so I just adding a information message as well. So it will showcase in the below the banner with the problem number and this text as well. Problem ticket is created. So let me add here for better understanding. After business rule testing, we are testing this one, right? Okay, so now save it. So now it's loading. Now here, see, there is like in 25 records. As soon as whenever I change the state to like in result of any of an incident record, then problem ticket will be like in created, problem record will create. Okay, and the number also will increase to 26. We'll check that now. Let that save. After business rule. It's taking time to load actually. Okay, so meanwhile, let us test it up. Let me change the state to resolve and give the mandatory fields over here. Save it. So it might be saved sometimes. If not, we'll refresh and we'll save again. Okay, yeah, even it is loading. Yeah, see here, I got it. So the problem number with the problem ticket is created after business rule. We are testing this one, right? So that's how this is the problem number which we can verify even in a problem table as well. So let's check it up. Copy this and you can refresh this as well. See, now I got it 26 and the recent one will be available here. So that's how which we are going to check it up. And this is the one which we got it. So I haven't gone to like in the problem table and I haven't clicked on a new button, but anyhow, whenever I change the state of like and resolve into incident state is like and resolve, then it came up. So that's how which we are going ahead with like in using this one. See, the impact is low, urgency is low, and even for the problem also we got the same values. Urgency is low, impact is low, and the problem statement is hardware issue. And CMDB value is like an empty over here, even here as well. That's why the value is empty. So that's how which we can create depending on like in one record of a table into the other table records as well, we can create it. Okay, so the mapping which we can do whenever we are doing it. Okay, so just make sure whether the field type is like in same or not. So here as soon as we check it up, so vacant value is also almost same over here because it's like in problem table. If let's say if it is like in some other new table. Okay, and the fields is something, let's say this is a short description, a single line text, let's say, or else impact is a choice list. If I map this with like an any other reference fields or something else, that's not a good practice actually. Okay, so just check it out like in the type as well, and then you can go ahead with it. Okay, so that's how which we will do this one. Okay, so this is about like in after business rule. So that's what happened, right? After business rule is something whenever I submit the form. Okay, so the data which got saved, the data which is nothing but the record, incident record, the state is got saved. And whenever this is saved, then my business rule triggered. The condition got met and then I updated it and then the script got executed with the information as well, and I have created this two incident depending on like in the incident data, I have created a problem table as record as well in problem table. Okay, so that's how which we go with like in after business rule. Okay, so we discussed about like just like in after business rule, the async also will go ahead, right? So the same thing will happen. So let's showcase you like in how the async business rule will work. It's just like in work with like an asynchronously, just like a after business rule. Okay, so what we can do, we will just add a sleep method over here. So sleep method is something it will hold for some time to update, right? In usually gs dot sleep. So for 1000, it will take it as like in 1 second. So I'm gonna add 10,000 over here and let us test this one. So I'm in after business rule right now. Let's test with this one first, how long it will take, and later I'll go with the async business rule. So if I mention a sleep as like in 10 seconds here, okay, so if I try to update, let me go with like a new one. I just need to change the state of a incident. So now it's loading. Now the state is resolved. Let that load. Still loading. So async business rule is something it will work like an asynchronously as we discussed, right? So asynchronously is something it will not wait for the next step. So if that is like an executing, then it will go good. So we cannot predict exactly how much time it is gonna take it up, or else how when this is gonna execute actually. So let me still it is loading. Let me save the form. So see if it is like an asynchronous after business, so it is taking time to load. It's taking 10 seconds actually. You can count it as well. It'll take 10 seconds to execute this. Now 10 seconds done and it resolved to like in resolve state it mode. Right. So if I refresh it, it'll take 10 seconds to execute. So now see I got this one. I got this is the one which we created. Right. Let me refresh with the 3. So here my intention to adding on like in the sleep is nothing but this business rule after business rule will work with like asynchronously. So let's say it will wait for like in 10 seconds and then only it will go and create a record. Okay, it will work synchronously actually. So let's say if I use the same script with asynchronously, it will not wait actually. So that's what I'm just want to
Hello,
showcase
Priyanka.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, can we continue this tomorrow, Priyanka? Because it's already heavy for us, those two methods.
It's just like in done 10 minutes more because the same thing which I need to continue again tomorrow. So I used to brush up from like in starting and it will be a very large concept also. It you might feel like in the same thing. We are about to finish it.
No, Priyanka, are we short of time, like in a way, with respect to the course completion?
Not yet. I'm gonna
Okay,
finish each and every concept and I'm gonna
right.
close it.
That's fine. So we can continue tomorrow if that's okay with you, or like the other two methods.
It's just like in copy pasting over there and executing. That's it. Just like in 2 minutes of time. Async. And display business rule is something else, just adding on like in the values and displaying. That's it. Why do we need to extend like in one more time? Then if I extend, I need to go with like in 13 and 14, I will not be available. So it will prolong like anything, right? Fine, I'll go with you only then.
Because what I feel is probably we are little moving fast. So uh, earlier the speed was okay, but now it's becoming little fast. So uh,
Okay.
maybe if we just slow down a bit, then it'll be good for us.
The participants are also leaving the meeting, Priyanka. I don't know why. In the starting, there are 9 participants, and now
No,
there are only 4.
everyone they feel like, and recording videos are there, and that's like quite common for every batch, not only the here.
Okay.
Let me